2, 1. We're live.
All right, and we are live. Of course, I can't see.
I can't see anything.
I can't see it yet, but we're live supposedly.
Yeah, it's a little
anybody out
delayed.
there?
I noticed it was delayed more on YouTube than it is on Twitch, which was rather interesting.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Well, all
see
right.
something that says live. I'm gonna click that. There we are.
Yeah. Oh, you see yourself? Oh man, I maybe have to refresh.
so was it on live after? Absolutely. Then
Yes. So you refresh, and then the little
Ah.
picture there says live. You click that, and it'll take you right to the room.
Oh, Gary Con live. No, that's not it. Gosh darn it. Well, I tell you what.
This is
All
still.
this technology. Oh, I see it now. All right.
There we go.
You want to talk about
Yeah.
technology?
All right, now I see it.
My streaming software is still showing me Jay's chat. You want to talk about confusing? I was like, what is this? I'm going to pop out over top of it. Anyway. All right, we're here. So, Luke, take us away.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Luke Gygax. Thank you for joining us on the Gary Con YouTube channel, which we switched over to recently. By the way, on Sundays, we have streaming going on here. I think coming up this Sunday at, oh boy, I can't remember the time. I should probably remember that. I think it's like around 1 p.m. Anyways, I'll have to figure that out. My wife will beat me. My wife and daughter are playing in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign in the world of Okram, along with two of our friends, Alicia Marie, and a guy you may have heard of, Keith Baker. He made a thing called Eberron. I'm not may have heard of that one. So they're all so they're all playing D&D right here on the Gary Con YouTube. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about something that really is at the root of Gary Con. It's the works of my dad, Gary Gygax. We have a really exciting announcement. After many years of working towards this objective, we have been given permission to republish some of his works, and available right now, as in today, just now, you can pre-order Yggsburgh, which is this fantastic setting that environs around or the city nearby to Castle Zagig, which they published the upper works for Castle Zagig in 2005. Fingers crossed, that will be some of the next projects that we're able to bring out. But right now you can pre-order it, and I think Chuck has put up links, hopefully, in our chat to those things.
Which things?
Not yet.
That's the links to you. I did you first.
Okay, well, yeah, the most important thing.
Of course.
Totally. It's all about this guy right here. Yeah. Who has two thumbs and loves himself? This guy right here.
So here's the link to the store for everybody right now.
Okay.
I'll be posting.
Available on the Trollord Game Store right up front and live. You don't have to search around anywhere. It'll say, hey, get a free Castles and Crusades player's book, right? If you want. And then next to that, right. pre-order Yggsburgh. And again, this went out of print in end of December 2008 was the last time you could buy Yggsburgh. So this is the classic version of the book. It's generally goes for, I don't know, $150, $200 or more, something like that.
More
than that.
About $350 to $450. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, $350 or $450. We're only going to charge you $250 for this, right? No, it's less than that. Are you telling me?
It is less than that.
These guys, man.
I think
this is for the low price of $65. That's a deal. That's a steal. You should probably buy one for put on your shelf and one to play with at that price. I mean, how could you not?
And you get a PDF with it that has working bookmarks now. So
with the PDF. So not only can you have one on your coffee table, you can also have one ready for play, right? This thing is 256 pages of material. It comes with a gorgeous and glorious map that is in the back that folds out. If I'm smart enough to figure out how to fold it out, I'll show you. And this map is done by none other than Darlene, the artist, who did the amazing Greyhawk map from way back in the day. So that's all included. This is exactly the same book as it was available in 2005. The only difference will be the numbering on the spine. Instead of TLG 8050, it'll be TLG 80502, so that you can tell the difference if you're one of those collectors and need to know the difference there. But otherwise, it will have all of the information that you need in there. This describes, I mean, I don't know. Steve, you worked on this and are more intimately knowledgeable on it. So go ahead and give people a quick overview of what's included in the 256 pages of Yggsburgh.
So the Yggsburgh campaign setting was the launch point for the Upper Works Castle Zag. Oh, I keep saying Upper Works. That's just the first box set of Castle Zagig. I keep getting that confused in my head. Castle Zagig is the monstrous castle, of course, that Gary created over many years of playing. Upper Works was the first box set that we did in publishing in Castle Zagig. Now, Yggsburgh is the town that is near Castle Zagig, and the Eastmark or the environs near Castle Zagig. And I'm certain if we were to dig through the lore, and Luke, you probably know this, it was probably attached to, the Eastmark was attached to Greyhawk and all of that stuff in some, and however Gary developed that material. But the book itself has the Eastmark, all the environs around Yggsburgh are in the Eastmark. That's in the book as well as the city of Yggsburgh. So it's really everything that you need to get started on any kind of campaign, starting at first level, high level, whatever you want to do. It's absolutely filled with NPCs, adventure hooks, random encounters, new monsters, magic items. It's got orders of battle. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. It's just tons and tons of stuff in it. And there's actually, my memory, and I didn't say this over in the stream that we were on earlier, my memory is just getting jogged these days. There's 2 maps that come with this because there's a map of Yggsburgh as well. Now, Yggsburgh, Gary went on to really, really develop Yggsburgh, but the original map was, I'm pretty sure Darlene did that one too, and it's just kind of blocks, so you know where the districts are. And later we began to develop other stuff, some of which came out or not. But this book here, like Luke said, 256 pages, full color maps, absolutely chock full of gaming material like you've never seen before. And it's all written by Gary Gygax. It's classic Gary Gygax material. We are putting it out in the way it was originally put out. You can go to our website now and pre-order it and download the PDF immediately. And we're doing this this way so that we can get Gary back on people's tables as quickly as possible. And when we were going through this material a month or so ago, Luke Davis and Davis suggested Yggsburgh because it really is a universal setting. I mean, you can be playing any game system and pick this stuff up. The NPCs in there, they're made for Castles and Crusades. You can convert it if you play 5th edition or whatever you're playing. You can convert so very, very easily. So that the setting itself has value that really transcends whatever game system you're playing. But definitely go check it out. You can pre-order it right now, and we are hoping that this is the beginning of a whole bunch of projects that we're working on. We do have 2 more lined up after that. You want me to dive into that, Luke? Or
yeah, I would say we got Yggsburgh coming first, but what follows on behind that?
So after Yggsburgh, we will do The Hermit. The Hermit was an adventure. Davis remembers The Hermit well. I can see him smiling. It's an adventure that Gary wrote, and it's to me still is the most original adventure I've ever read. It is absolutely, when you get into the pond, part of that, it is so. The description, I remember, when you're in the description you read and you're looking up, it's just, I don't want to spoil it. It's fantastic. But The Hermit we will do later this year, and then early next year we will revisit the Gygaxian Fantasy World Series, which we're super excited about. Of course, that is a system neutral series of an encyclopedia that Gary, he really wanted a whole Encyclopedia Britannica type series of books for role playing, and it includes, the first one's the Canton Crew World Builder, then Living Fantasy, Book of Names, Insidiate, Cosmos Builder, and Nation Builder. 7 books just absolutely crammed with material of an unbelievable scope.
My dad would talk to me in Thieves' Cant for
Oh
like
yeah.
weeks where he would be like, talking about all these, and I was like,
What?
oh my goodness, he would love that. So anytime my dad was working on, something in the game or whatever, I was just always dread when he was like working on the like the merchants area or the souk or the marketplace. Because he'd be like, okay, great. And like, okay, great. I want to get some rope and some everything. Oh, fantastic. Where are you going to do that? And I was like, oh no. And we'd spend like hours going, I'd have to hunt to go to each place and he'd introduce the shop and talk about it. And, it was just all the stuff that at the time, especially then, I was more about let's get to the meat and taters. I want to start kicking some monster butt. Why are we shopping? But I know a lot of people really love to have, what's the ostler of the place? What's their name? What do they like? What's the quality of their merchandise here? All those details, and he included.
So what Luke is talking about in the Canting Crew,
and this
is
is
a whole
brilliant.
dictionary.
Brilliant.
Yeah, a whole dictionary of cant. I mean, if you want to say I speak cant, it's I stam flash.
Yep.
My
Oh God.
You remember that one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. My rig is, that means my specialty is, now I don't know how to pronounce this word. Good morning is Benny, so it's Bene. I'm not sure what the pronunciation would be. Benny Sparrow Fart. That's pretty cool.
Now, and the thing is, this is based on historical reference.
Yeah.
This is not just, he didn't just make this up. He did the research for all of this. And this is based on a lot of research that he did. And it's real cant. I mean, this is.
Yes.
A lot of it's from like 1800s,
Yeah.
England is where he pulled a lot of that stuff. And these, because you talk about somebody who, swipes, pocket watches is this kind of a person. Some, a girl who dresses up and distracts you and then does whatever is this. So he had all, and I remember meeting these characters and them speaking this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? But it was fantastic. And just the gleam in his eyes when he would talk about that. He loved the Canting Crew. This one, I would say, far and above was like something that he enjoyed, and like he had so much fun doing the Canting Crew.
Yes, he was the most excited of all of them. My personal favorite's The Living Fantasy. He wrote that one, and it's really how to kind of world build. But this one is, you're right. He absolutely loved this book. Everything about it.
Canting Crew is my favorite one, I think, of all of them. Well, the Book of Names, Canting Crew and book followed by the Book of Names.
Book of Names is a good one. But so Ramping Coves, thieves who snatch items from passersby and run away with the loot. The Fiddlum Bins, thieves of general sort with many rigs. So rigs would be specialty. We just learned that in the dictionary lesson. Oh, this is just fantastic. So if you're into rogues or thieves or whatever, this is, I mean, it's the book you want, without a doubt. And hopefully all of this will be out by sometime next year.
Yeah. So I think that ideally, knock on wood over here. A little knock on wood. I think we're looking to kickstart the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds in January. But essentially, it was a long road to get to where we are right now. And so, typically we don't do like a call to arms or a, spread the word kind of thing. But essentially, the estate, it was recently established that the estate owned the intellectual property that my dad left behind, and that it was, that's the proper place for it to be, to reside. And there's a lawyer who's in charge of representing the estate, and they approved with the judge's, authority approval, republishing these works, Yggsburgh, The Hermit, and the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds. The reality is there's a whole bunch of debt that the estate has after so many years, and there's probate taxes, et cetera, all this sort of good stuff. So all the non-fun stuff, right, that goes along with the real world. But what we have right now is we've gotten to the point, we made it to this point where we can say, hey, we can show you that there's value in this, so give us a chance to publish this work, give us a shot to hopefully continue work and development on Castle Zagging and finish those projects that my father left behind almost 16 years ago, I guess 16 years ago at this point, that, he asked, my help and Steve's help and some other folks' help to complete, right? So the pause button has been pressed since 2009. We just got a chance to go again. And, we're very happy that we're here. We need your help in spreading the word. And just think about it. From 2009 to now, how many millions of new players have come into the game?
Yeah.
Lots, right? So we need to rebuild that audience, teach them who Gary Gygax was, and what he did for the community, and show them how good this stuff is, so that they get a chance to experience it. And so that is a passion project, obviously, for me to help carry forward my dad's legacy is very important to me. And I can't speak for the other folks here, but I believe this is more than just publishing a book. This is a promise that was made. This is something that felt incomplete, and that we now get a chance to make right.
Well said.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Gygax is back.
We waited a long time to do it, so I'm pretty happy about being here.
Absolutely. I mean, this is, and it is this weird kind of, like you mentioned earlier, it's been 16 years, and it's odd that much time has passed. But I really feel like we can just pick back up and get back to work on this stuff. There were so many projects, in the fire, and we need to just get back onto it.
Yeah.
And it starts tonight with Yggsburgh. And the more support you guys can show us, the better it'll be for the estate, the better it'll be for everything. And we can really get to, even beyond Yggsburgh, the Hermit and the Gygaxian Fantasy World Series, all of the Upper Works material.
Yeah, all that's material. It's within reach.
One of the things that's sort of that we haven't touched on here is the synergy and the moment that Yggsburgh came out. Because remember, I had been clamoring for years to make my own game, right? Because we started with we started with our own game called Swords and Sorcery.
Yeah.
And then we moved to 3.0, 3.5, and I've just been clamoring at the door. I just want to make my own game. And that's when you and Gary had started talking about publishing, and I was so excited, but we didn't have a game.
We've been publishing Gary for many years at that point, but this is going to be like
the Gygaxian Fantasy Worlds,
But he didn't have a system to do Castle Zag again. He really did not want to do it in 3rd edition. He felt that the game leveled up too fast, and it didn't do justice to Castle Zaggy. And he wanted something that was more like he played, which was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So when you and Max sat down to start, you guys were already primed to do our own role-playing game for Troll Lord Games, because the D20 market was beginning to tumble. And Gary wanted something that was very much like AD&D. And when you guys asked me, because I was the front man for the company, what I wanted, I'm an old AD&D hound, so I wanted something like AD&D too. So the Siege engine that you guys developed for Castles and Crusades fit perfectly for Gary. And it just was this nice, you're right, Davis, just this great synergy for all of it, because he then could write in comfort for a system that he was already comfortable with, because it was so familiar with what he did. And that's actually, I do want to point out to everybody, I may have already done this, but the book that's up there now, the classic version of Yggsburgh, was written and designed for Castles and Crusades by Gary Gygax. But we've got a 5th edition conversion in there if you want to trade it or whatever. But go ahead and download the Player's Handbook, the Castles and Crusades Player's Handbook. It's free right next to it. You can see what the system's all about and dive into it. But
it's all coming home. So Gary Con next year will be the 50th anniversary of D&D, right?
Right.
Yes,
it will.
It's the 20th anniversary for CNC.
Yes, and the 25th anniversary for Troll Lord Games.
That's right. It's crazy.
For Troll Lord Games, and it's like it's all coming home at once.
Wow.
If
you can see the YouTube screen, there's a very young Steve Chenault on the YouTube screen. Who is that guy? Sorry, but he's wearing a super cool shirt that says.
I did have a cool shirt on.
Again,
well, I'd be a little careful.
And my dad's wearing Dwarven Forge because we always love Stefan.
I would be very careful as you, because I've got other young pictures.
I apologize. I did not mean to do that. I just saw that picture and I was.
Oh, that's all right.
Like, who's that kid?
There's your one.
David,
I can't see the YouTube thing. I'm afraid to open it up.
You need to open it up.
There's an even funnier one on now.
Now. This was some homeless folks that we ran into.
It's a very slender and dark-haired me.
Yes, it's you.
Next to Steve.
And look how tall you are. You're like what? What are you there? What? 15?
20 2 years ago?
I don't know, man.
No.
That's for sure.
That shirt I'm wearing is one of the most comfortable TLG shirts we've ever had.
Oh, I never noticed that. I never noticed that.
It's gone. It's
gone.
I can't.
Oh my
gone.
God.
They don't make them.
So I've got a lot of pictures on there.
Davis, we interrupted you. What were you saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot it. Holy cow, Luke! I remember you now.
I wanted to mention real quick, Luke, will you tell the audience while we got a chance in a moment?
All right. Well, Founders and Legends, since we're talking about that, I think everybody on here probably knows what Founders and Legends is, but that's the weekend before GaryCon, which is so Founders and Legends is March 16th through 18th, and then GaryCon is March 21st through 24th in Lake Geneva at the Grand Geneva Resort. We're going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, and we can now do it while we're playing in Yggsburgh and exploring hooks that are in there as well, adventure hooks. So no reason not to do that. But Founders and Legends is a much smaller convention. Right now we have about 200 people who are coming there and about 25 guests. Anywhere, Ed Greenwood's coming, Zeb Cook, Errol Otis, Jim Ward, Skip Williams, Kelsey Dion's going to be there a little bit on the newer school side. And we're going to hang out and we're going to play games. No vendor hall. You can buy some swag or whatever, but it's mostly hanging out and playing games and really reflecting upon the origins of our hobby, saluting the roots, saying, spending some time with folks who were there in the beginning, who are still with us, and playing the games that were great, whether it's OD&D, AD&D, Call of Cthulhu, Traveler, whatever it is. If you want to run a 5e campaign and Founders and Legends, you're welcome to do so. It's not exclusionary, but the primary focus is on the past. GaryCon, there's about 3,000 people come to GaryCon. I think we're going to sell out this year. So if you want to come to GaryCon, please purchase your badge now at play.garycon.com. And it's going to be wild. We're going to be doing a ton of stuff there, and there's games, all sorts of games, past, present, and future at GaryCon. We've got Legends of Wargaming. We'll be at Founders and Legends as well as GaryCon with some different guests. I'm very excited that Bob Meyer and some of the other folks are looking to come up or come down, I guess would be, from the Twin Cities to run Blackmore at GaryCon as well. Nice. Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, it's a broad net. I mean, obviously, I love my father very much. I am proud to carry on his legacy, but there's plenty of other people who worked in the industry, and they deserve recognition as well. And I'm happy to help give a venue for those people to be honored and remembered as well. So if you have some time in March, if you're it's the 50th anniversary, you only turn 50 once. If you can make Founders and Legends wonderful, if you can make GaryCon wonderful, if you can do both, even better, turn it into 10 or 11 days of celebration, and we'll have a great time. But that's my pitch.
How can I swing 11 days there, Steve?
That is the hard part.
Yeah.
It is the hard part.
I'll have to buy a mobile computer.
That's it, man. I'm telling you, so many. I mean, honestly, a lot of us can work at least part of the time remotely.
Yeah.
So, you can have some fun and then go back and knock out 4 hours of work or whatever you need to do. And then get back down to seeing your friends and having a good time. Because honestly, if you're a gamer and you're thinking about coming to GaryCon or Founders and Legends, chances are this has been something that is, central to shaping a lot of who you are. And so the 50th anniversary in Lake Geneva with Gygax family members, being able to go to 330 Center Street where it was written, where the game was, where my dad wrote the game, and just kind of, being there where it all started, has some importance. It has some importance to you. So, if you have the ability, please consider coming. I think it's going to be just a spectacular time.
I think I'll figure a way to swing it.
I wished I could. Can you imagine going up there playing Gamma World or something? Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure we'll see it. Oh man, there's a Davis sighting.
Yeah, there he is. Todd.
Were we ever that young? And a Todd, man. Todd also.
There's
Back
Todd.
there. Yep.
Man, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, but time marches on. Time is a relentless force that marches forward, day after day, minute after minute, hour after hour, day after day. So enjoy those times, and when the 50th comes around, celebrate it. Take a moment to do so. Facebook is a wonderful tool because it keeps reminding me. It shows me pictures of 10 years ago or whatever it is. And I look at my children and I see how much they've changed, right? And it really forces me to realize, boy, even in 4 years or 3 years, there's a lot of change that goes on. A lot of things happen. So savor those moments, people. Savor those moments. Do the best you can to enjoy them, and do what you can to prepare yourself to be around for the people you love and care about for many years into the future. That's just my 2 bits. Free advice.
I'll say this: one of my favorite emails from your dad, from Gary. I can't remember what we were arguing about, but first part of the email he was lecturing me. We need to do this, blah blah blah. And at the end of the email, he said, "P.S." My middle son at the point was 4, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4. And Gary said, "Would it be all right to get Pete a set of bow and arrows for his birthday?" So it was this really cool. It was this great dichotomy between business and friendship. But Pete's just graduated college, so, suddenly.
Yeah, when Sophia was born, my first child in 2005, when she was born, Gary sent me one of those baby scrapbooks, right? Yeah. And I still have this baby scrapbook that Gary sent me to collect stuff in. Now, I never actually collected stuff in because I valued the scrapbook, but now I'm going to give it to Sophia. She's 18 now. And I'm going to say, Gary Gygax sent this for us, and here's your... I'm going to have a hard time getting rid of that.
I did keep one thing, Gary. I couldn't reach it behind the thing. It's precariously balanced, but it's a bottle of New Glarus beer. It was the last beer he gave me, and I didn't open it. Somehow it ended up in the house, and I still have it on my shelf. So
that's nice. That's awesome. That's really cool. Isn't that really what gaming is about? Is forming these kind of friendships, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's a social game, and like I've said many times before, it was revolutionary in its time because instead of going after each other's throats, I'm Davis, I'm going to crush you and Steve in this game of Monopoly. Instead, we're working together.
Yeah.
And and we're all together. There's the 4 of us, and we made Chuck play the cleric just because he's the quiet one, so he had to be the rest of us, we're out there.
I'm too busy.
I never liked playing the cleric. I'll be honest with you. It's a decent class, but I always wanted to be either the fighter or the magic user or fighter magic user. I guess I'm like whatever.
You want Davis to play the cleric because he will not get healing spells under any circumstances.
I've seen those clerics. He's like the guy with the I'm a cleric, but I didn't take any healing. What's it?
All the time.
You had one job. You had one job. That's it.
You're the medic.
Yeah. How are you effing this up, bro? But yeah, and so we all cooperate, and we go off on an adventure and do good stuff, right? And we all succeed or fail together. And guess what? When you do that sort of stuff, time after time, week after week, year after year, you build these bonds, and so it's 30 years go by. Literally, for me, 30 years have gone by since I've seen my friend Jesus Valdez that I knew in the Army in 1992. Is the last time we saw each other in Germany. Went to Desert Storm in 1991. I'm going to Tucson Comic-Con as a guest over Labor Day. He Facebooked me, "Hey, dude, you're coming to Tucson?" He's like, "I'm like 2 hours away. I'm going to bring my family and come see you." Fantastic. We haven't seen each other in 30 years. But he felt strong enough based on the fact that we gamed back then and we hung out that he's going to come and I'm going to see his family. I've never met any of his kids. They're all like 18 to 20 something, right? and he has gotten many. I was getting my kids either, right? So, but that's great. That's the kind of bonds that this game
I
forms.
think Davis said it best earlier that this, and I had never really thought of it this way. When we were kids and in college and whatever, we all read the same material, written by Gary, and we all read it, interpreted it however we interpreted it. But now, as we're gamers, we've got that commonality, and we don't even know it's a commonality. Whether you thought Gary meant this or Gary meant that or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all the same kind of thing. We're part of that same. We're all at the same table.
Yeah, and what's pervasive beyond tabletop RPG gamers, as I said before, leveling up, hit points, armor class, classes, character classes, right? All these concepts are taken for granted by everybody in the world now. If you've played World of Warcraft, if you've played Fortnite, if you've played whatever, you've seen all these kind of similar things. And it's just, everyone's like, yeah, no kidding. But that's a revolutionary, man. It was revolutionary at the time.
It was revolutionary.
Yep. And like many revolutionary things, years later, people just take it for granted. But people are still playing D&D 50 years later, which is pretty freaking amazing. Yeah. And now, for the first time, you're going to be able to get a taste of my dad's original setting in the form of Yggsburgh right now at Troller Game Store. And, knock on wood, we'll be able to continue this journey and bring many more of his products, and including the unpublished products that need to be finished up in the form of 3, 4, or 5 box sets of castles. But this is from this point of view. We have to show that this is viable, and it's not better for them to just sell to somebody to do it, right?
Right.
Or whatever they're going to do. It has to be worth the time.
Right.
So we're at a point where we need to, put up or shut it.
So we're really asking the community to step out, spread the word about this, go pre-order and help us bring all of this stuff out.
Any posts you see coming from Luke's Corner of the World or Gary Con or any of us?
That's what I was saying.
Boost
not
them.
As eloquently as Steve said it. Just right there.
Boost them.
Okay, Luke, I have to say this. You're talking about your friend from Desert Storm that you played with? Okay, so it made me think of the guy I started playing D&D when I played D&D in high school. I played with a friend, and we both ended up joining the Army about the same time. And but he was deployed to Desert Storm. I stayed in Yggsburgh. But it just occurred to me, I have not talked to him since that time, since he was deployed. He was a tank crew commander. But I'm going to look him up on Facebook and see if he's still playing. I'm going to find that guy and see if that's for a whole high school friend.
He probably is.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. I mean, and it's very possible.
We were all in the Army at the same time too. It's so weird.
Yeah. Which is funny. I mean, imagine that, a bunch of nerds joining the Army. It's like, not yeah.
Steve,
19 kilo. That's all right.
Steve, what's the picture there? On the you got what? Isn't that something? That picture there in particular? You recognize that one?
Oh yeah, so that's going to be Gen Con 2001. That's the first time that I met Gary. It's the first picture ever taken of me and Gary together. And we had signed contracts, but there was nothing that we hadn't produced anything, or he hadn't produced anything for us to actually publish. Luke, interestingly enough, was working on the Lost City of Yggsburgh. That was all part of the whole thing. And what Gary is doing there, because he was signing at the booth, and we didn't have any Gary Gygax material. We had that little book underneath my elbow is the After Winter Dark campaign setting, which we had just published. And so he was signing that and giving it to people that came up to the booth. So out there are, maybe 50, 60 people who have those that are signed by Gary and probably have no idea how insanely special that is that they've got.
Was that the first year we went?
First year we went was 2000. That's 2001.
Oh, okay. Because that reminds me of how I met Gary too.
That's right. Because my dad is also wearing a Gaxmore shirt, which means it's 2001.
Yeah. Which
I don't have my Gaxmore shirt. I gave that away to Dale Leonard.
Okay.
I thought it was so cool. So I was like, "Here you go, man. You can have it." That thing. I'm sure I'll get another one, no problem.
there's probably a few buried in the warehouse somewhere. So.
Well, I'm a 2X now, so
Yeah.
I went up to touch it. I've grown in strength over the years. I'm sure that's what it is.
I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a picture of the cover for anybody who doesn't know about the product. If you weren't around 3,000 years ago, like some of these guys. And again, I hate to be the dead horse to death, but there's the link in the chat. Please go over and check it out at least. There is a PDF that comes with it. We will have individual PDFs up on the store later tonight for those that can't, or if they live internationally or whatnot. But, again, we just appreciate everybody being so excited as we are. We're very excited about it. And along with this, I found this cover here too. I know there's a bunch of it, but this is what I want to hear about. Steve, what is this exactly right here?
All right, I'll wait for it to pop up.
Yeah, you're going to like this.
Oh, Lord.
He's waiting. Wow, I had to put that in there. I had to.
That's the coat of arms. That's the coat of arms for Yggsburgh right there. That's what that is.
Oh yeah.
That's older on the.
And you can't. I wish, man. I gotta just dig some of this stuff out. He's got like these orders of battles in here, and in these things, it has everybody's, all the knights, and what their coat of arms are.
It's just badass,
they're
man.
True.
So if anyone asks you for the links to Yggsburgh,
yeah, did you put the links up there, Chuck?
Trust me, they're probably sick of it.
Aren't they links? They're links, right?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Sorry. My dad loved puns. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm elderly. Right. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
on the heraldry there, I see now. So, Luke, your dad, I'm sure I've told you this 1,000 times. Your dad, he, as you just commented, he loved puns, and I don't get them. So every time we would go up there, we would go up twice a year for the two little conventions we ran for him, and then, of course, Game Fest and Gen Con. I would sit there at the table with them, and we would be having a drink of usually that, what is it, Schlepovitz? What is that?
Slivovitz, the plum brandy.
Yes, he loved that stuff. And he would start saying these puns, and he would just look at me because he knew I wasn't going to get it, and he would just stare at me until I was floundering in my own whatever. It was absolutely hilarious.
Couple questions. First one's from Mark Moretta. Was Jeffrey Talon involved in this originally?
No, not in Yggsburgh. He was not. Yggsburgh is all Gary Gygax. It was his true passion about this. Now, what he did once he had written and we published Yggsburgh, he was super excited about the setting, super excited about the city. So the book is going to cover the East Mark as well, but he wanted that city to be hyper detailed, and he broke it up into districts. It was already broken up into districts. I can't remember now, Davis. I think it was 13. Honestly, maybe 14.
I think it was 13. I think you're right.
Something like that. And he wanted each of those districts to be given its own treatment, and he hired quite a few, John Crefeld, Jeffrey Talanian, he hired quite a few people to come in and write each one. Now, I had very little to do with Gary setting up, nothing to do with Gary setting up his writers and whatnot, but I could tell very early on that he and Talanian saw eye to eye, because not only did Talanian got one of the city districts, but then he got a second and then a third, I believe. So he was writing a good chunk of the districts. And then he began, and that's when I think that he proved to Gary that he was more than capable and right. And he wrote kind of in the same style that Gary wrote, so that he brought him on board to help him with Upper Works. And so Talanian and Gary worked on Upper Works together, which is the first box set of Castle Zagging. So Talanian wasn't involved with the Yggsburgh campaign setting, but he definitely was involved with the material that was coming out. And I said earlier, I can't remember. I think we printed 3 of the district books and had 2 more ready to go. I think that's where we were. I'll have to pull all that out. This is very exciting. I was actually, I pulled out, I couldn't find some of the files that we had worked on. So I pulled out an old external drive. In the old days, the hard drive wasn't big enough, so I had externals to keep everything on. And I was just going through all of these files. I was sending some weird stuff to Davis that Davis had written years and years ago. But it was like a kid in a candy shop at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And my son came in and he looked at me and he said, "One has to imagine Sisyphus happy," which I really didn't know what that meant. But so he explained it to me. And Sisyphus, I guess, is the the guy who pushes the boulder up and
Yeah.
just constantly working, never, just always doing it. And I said, yes, Sisyphus is happy. he is very, very happy.
So a couple questions and comments from the crowd. First up is from Courtney Mason. Here's a question. Will the reprint be a full duplicate, or will there be errata, kinds of edits? I've never read the original material to know if there would ever been an errata after first print or not.
And so we're gonna talk about that. I kind of, part of me wants to give it another edit, but part of me wants it to be just what we put out in 2005. And if we start getting in there and mucking around, it's going to change the layout, it's going to change the page count, it's going to change art, and stuff is just going to get knocked out of whack. So my inclination, and I think Luke and Davis are kind of on board, is we just print what Gary made, what we published. And then if we can make this stuff work, and I'm sure that we can, with y'all's help, we can make this work. Next year, we revisit Upper Works, we revisit the Yggsburgh, we revisit the Eastmark Folio, Gazetteer book, all of this stuff, because it is an unbelievable amount of material. There's, I think, 7 or 8 adventures that go with the setting. I mean, there's the fawn. There's just so many of them. I can't remember all of them. So there's a lot of content here that I think that we could really explore, and then take that material and make something even bigger of it. But for now, let's hit the ground running.
There'll be one change. That's right. There'll be one change.
Oh yeah, here we go.
So this is the book, right? We got the book right here. However, on the spine, you'll notice that this one says TLG 8050. So when this goes up for auction, $900.
I need to point something out to you. Actually, Luke, you have a selling point.
8052. Yeah.
Well, you have another selling point. What's the Troll Lord logo on that box set?
Hmm? Oh.
That's right.
The rings of brass.
That's right. You don't see that no more. That's even rare. It's even rare.
See, there you go. There'll be two ways you can tell this. It'll say TLG 8050 and have the rings of brass, which makes it a collector's item. Or you'll get the new and improved one with the newer TLG logo, which I'm chagrined to say I don't know what it is. I look at this all the time.
I don't either, Luke.
Is it a troll? I don't know. Is it a troll maybe? Is it
just Troll Lord Games?
Troll Lord Games.
So
the eponymously marked Troll Lord Game stuff and 80502 will be your clue that it is the more recent printing.
That we may change that. So I want to tell a story on me. So that is, if you look at that logo, the rings of brass is what's on the side.
Right.
Now that logo, I was at Gen Con. I don't know what Gen Con it was, 06 or 07. Now Marcus King, who I know Luke knows, and Davis, you certainly know, he passed away a year or two ago. A fantastic guy, a great retailer, just great for the industry. Super nice guy. Love Marcus to death. I was at my booth, and he walked over. He walked over to the booth, and we had this huge, brand new white banner. No, it was the black banner that Davis's dog put an end to, but this giant black banner with Troll Lord Games on it. And Marcus just stares at it for a minute, and he goes, "What does that say?" And I said, "Well, it says Troll Lord Games." He goes, "I can't read that."
Yeah, I know.
So I went back. I got Peter Bradley, our art director, and said, "Hey, dude, we need to fix this. Nobody can read our logo."
But see, the logo was more. It's the rings of brass that were supposed to connect everything. Connect all game settings, connect all settings and everything. Right, the rings of brass. But it's also the one ring, the one game, the one. We had the one first.
So. Some more comments here. I was going to throw it so Peter Bradley says there were about 12 riders on the city project actually for Yggsburgh. He said at one point.
It was a lot. I remember it.
Yeah. Carlos Mundragon asking again if it's been asked. That's fine, but do we plan to sell international? Well, yeah. I mean, you just have to unfortunately pay the international shipping charges, which is not pretty, but we ship anywhere in the world.
It's got a little bit better with Global Post.
So it has gotten better. Global Post has brought it down. The only place we won't ship to is Mordor. Other than that, it's all game open. You can do whatever you like to. Let's see. There was one more here.
Mordor.
Oh, also, someone pointed out that you could advertise in eBay too, Luke, that you have Gygax DNA now in that box. That also could be a third selling point if you want to, let it out. Alex,
You can sell blood samples.
I don't know about DNA in there, but I was old enough to remember the Bill Clinton stuff. So yeah.
Now, our dear friend Omote put in here something a while ago. I'm trying to find it. Where did he say that? Stephen Crew, any good stories or memories from when Yggsburgh and Yggsburgh were first released? He believed Gen Con. Any good stories from back then when y'all released it there?
So the Yggsburgh folio came out first, and I believe, and then Yggsburgh. Now I honestly can't.
I don't know.
I honestly can't remember. At that point, Gen Con was moving to Indianapolis. It moved in 2004, I think. And this we got a guess. And this came out in 2005. Now, I believe that's the convention. We had this very small booth, 10 by 10. Davis, you probably remember this. We'd gotten set up on Wednesday, and we got to the hall on Thursday morning, and it had been raining and raining and raining and raining and raining. And the roof was leaking right into our booth.
Oh yeah.
So a whole bunch of product was damaged. We had to get with Gen Con. They moved us. It was a big, gigantic.
Wow.
It was a big, gigantic. But now Gary didn't go after Gen Con moved from Milwaukee. He didn't go to Gen Con again until 2007. He did not like driving. He did not like getting in the car and tootling across the country. And I think it was a 8-hour drive, probably, give or take, something like that. So he didn't want to do it. He did Game Fest in 2004 and 2005. We went up for those. And that's why we started running Winter Dark in January and Lake Geneva Con in June or July. So he would have a convention that he could go to there in Lake Geneva. We didn't get huge attendance. A couple hundred people, 250 people would come out and just game and hang out and whatnot. But he actually didn't get to Gen Con after that. Yeah, I believe that was the year it leaked everywhere.
All right, Luke, I got a picture for you. You ready for this?
Okay.
We were just talking about your brother earlier, right?
Yes. Good news for Ernie.
Watch this. You're gonna love it. It's a little delayed on me.
Oh yeah.
Look at that hair.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that brings me back, because those were the days that when we went up to the conventions in Lake Geneva, that Ernie and I, after the show closed, would head over to, we go usually eat dinner with Gary and then head over to Fat Cats and enjoy the rest of the evening.
And so,
but many of my conversations with Gary, when we would sit down, we would talk business a little bit and get that out of the way, and then we'd mostly discuss history. And he enjoyed talking about food, and he enjoyed eating and drinking and a good smoke.
There's Queen of Gaming.
Go ahead.
The Queen of Gaming. It looks like you and Todd and Luke's hanging out with some homeless guy from outside, but Boucher.
Yeah, there's some beautiful women who apparently we've trapped.
It's captured. It's the A series or something. Okay.
Luke, can I speak out of turn? And I don't know if you remember, but we sold a lot of Gaxmars at that convention.
We did. It was wonderful. So this is my second date with Bushra, who's still my wife. So she's very stubborn and hasn't left yet. So it's great.
Your wife's awesome.
So it's good. No, she is awesome. And so this was our second date. And I took her to Gen Con. And she knows.
I've heard this story
about gaming.
That's
she
right.
knows nothing about gaming. She had no idea who Gary Gygax was. None of that. She's from Morocco, and she was getting her master's degree in Milwaukee. And so I said, "Hey, come to this thing." She's like, "Okay." And I was like, "Oh, I wrote this book, and we're selling it." And she's like, "Okay." And so she grabbed some. And she stood out in the walkway in the hall, between the booths. And she's like, "Oh, have you seen this? You should really." And they're like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, go talk to him." And she'd point him towards, Steve or Todd or whoever it was. And it was funny because I think Todd went up to Steve and said, "Hey, she's out there with these books. She doesn't know anything about them. What's going on?" And Steve was like, just shush. We have more yeah, just it's working. Don't argue. And it was great. Yeah. It ain't broke. Don't fix it. We're doing good. Yeah. So she was influential in the amount of Gaxmores that were originally sold in 2001. So I appreciate that. So I married her. I said, "Hey, you're great for sales."
There you go.
I didn't, Luke, you mentioned she's gaming with you tomorrow. I didn't know that Boucher played.
She has more recently gotten into it. She was working, doing all these things, raising kids. My kids are finally getting old enough where she has like a minute to breathe. She's a nurse, so still arduous, the work schedule. But she's seen how important, gaming is to our family, and my kids play. And she's like, yeah, I want to learn. I want to do it. So she's playing. I can't pronounce her name of her orc. She's a half orc ranger who goes. She has an orcish name. That goes by, the Huntress or whatever, and she's playing in the world of Oakrim, and Garner Andrews is DMing, and so she's having fun, and she's got a great character, and she did her makeup and everything up to be look a little bit more like a half orc, and she's having fun with it. Yeah, she had a great time.
You can see her on Instagram. It's great.
Oh
yeah, no, she had a great time. She had so much fun doing it, and their second game is Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Garner about the other night. That was a really cool game. That was a good game.
Yep.
Let's see here what else I can dig out. Here's one of your dad with some assistant. I don't know. They're doing some sort of thing here. I think he's probably holding his stuff. I'm not sure what he's doing there. He's got.
Oh yeah, that looks. Was that like a bellhop or something?
I think something like that.
Like bellhop.
Now I do have a picture that I want. I thought Gary was running a game, but I'm not 100% sure. Steve can probably clarify that, or one of you guys can. I think your brother was in. No, I thought he was in the room, but you were not. But your dad was there. Yeah, your brother's there. I see he's here.
So that's the first or maybe second Lake Geneva Gaming Convention.
Oh, okay.
And this is going to be Saturday night as everything's wound down, and Gary was just telling stories and whatnot. You can see Davis standing there behind Frank Menschner. That's Ernie right in front of Gary. Ernie's long ponytail. And you can see me over. That's Mark Sandy next to Frank, and you can see me over on the far left, and that was my short-lived bowling shirt where I was wearing bowling shirts.
Did you have sandals on too at the same time? Just curious, just wondering.
Sure I did. But yeah, Gary was just telling funny stories. I'll tell you this, and not far from that spot, I watched. This was before the show opened. I'm going to forget who all was there. Jim Ward, Tom wasn't there yet. It was Gary Gygax. It's like 4 or 5. Frank mentioned there's a couple of Sutherland, I think one of the editors. I can't remember. Anyways, they're all sitting there and they were playing. When I showed up, they were playing Ticket to Ride.
Oh.
And they were all arguing. They were constantly arguing. Every move, they would argue and debate the rules. And I was thinking, there's like 5 pages of rules. What are you people arguing about? And then Tom Wham walks up. Is it Wham or Wham? I can never remember. Is it
Wham? Tom Wham.
Wham.
Tom Wham walks up, and I remember Gary goes, "Oh, here comes Tom." So Tom started arguing. He wasn't even in the game, but he started arguing with all of them. I was rolling. It was hilarious.
And Tom was in that conductor uniform.
Yes, he's always in his conductor.
He still wears that. He still wears that today to GaryCon. Yeah. So that looks like Ernie and my dad and Frank. I'm not sure who else is in this picture. But yeah, that's
quite cool. So now this gentleman in the very front,
is that Mike Carr?
No, that is his name escapes me. That's Darlene's husband. He passed away a few years ago.
Oh shoot! Yeah,
super nice guy. He's in a lot of documentaries on aliens and Bigfoot and stuff like that, supernatural stuff. Yeah, you'll see him pop up. He's so nice, so nice. I would love to talk to him about all the alien sightings we're having right now. That would be absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Super nice.
So that's what was going on with that. I was wondering. I came across that picture and I was like, "Is he running a game?" But I found another one. That's why I didn't include it because it's basically just a reverse shot. and he didn't have a DM screen or any dice. And I thought, no, they're doing something else. Maybe they're plotting something. I don't know. That's why I was wanting to know.
It was a lot of, once the show wound down, it was a lot of just sitting around and chatting.
Oh, I see. Well, Peter said that was his art display in the back there. That.
Yep. You can see, to the left is Peter's stuff. Oh no, to the right is Peter's stuff.
Oh, I see.
I see the World Builder, Living Fantasy, Planet Busters is there right over Mark's head. Planet Busters was a Tom Wham game.
Right.
It's very good. It was good. It's a good time.
Hey, whatever happened to that game?
We sold out of it. We just never reprinted it.
Which game?
Okay. Planet Busters.
Oh, I was thinking he did another. I can't remember what Dave did. They did something a while back. Oh, really?
The only board game he ever published. Yeah.
And we've had a couple of dice games.
Yeah, we did Troll Knuckles.
And then Cleaver the Pit.
Yeah, Cleaver the Pit. And there was a Viking game, I think.
Was there? I didn't know about that one. Though I did get some kind of Viking dice tower one time in a Kickstarter or something weird. It was really weird or something. I don't remember what it was now. But anyway.
Dude, we have made so many things in the past 23 years. It's
amazing how that worked.
So what's the story behind like the whole, the Cannon Crew and the World Builder series and all that? How did that ever come about? Is just him just wanting to do a series on game design and stuff, or what?
So when we first reached out to Gary, it was actually Matt Golden got this whole thing started. So Matt Golden, you may know from co-creating Castles and Crusades and writing things like The Fantastic Adventure, and he co-founded Troll Lord Games with Davis and I. Matt's super good friend of mine. We still game when we have the opportunity. So he took, at first Gen Con we went to in the year 2000, we had released 3 adventures and 1 setting book and a map. And Mac went over to Gary's booth and introduced himself and just gave him these complimentary copies and thanked him profusely. Mac is even when we were kids, Mac was a Gary Gygax fan through the roof. And he just gave him the stuff and thanked him and all this stuff. And then I guess so Gen Con's in July, I think, in those days. And sometime in August, Mac, he shot me an email, said, hey, why don't you reach out to Gary and see if, because he had done some investigating and Heckaforge was publishing Gary's material, but he wasn't putting very much out.
Right.
He was putting small soft covers and whatnot. And there's a reason for that, but they had their own print shop, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so Max said, hey, reach out to Gary. So I shot Gary an email, and to my surprise, he wrote back. Because I remember telling Mac, there's no way Gary's going to respond to some knuckleheads from Arkansas. It's not going to happen. But he responded almost immediately. We shot emails back and forth. And he had this encyclopedia of gaming that he was very interested in doing. But we wanted him to do adventures. That's what we were feeling. We were feeling like it would sell really well. So we wanted him to do adventures. He didn't want to do adventures. I found out later he really didn't like writing adventures.
Oh, really?
Tired of it. Oh, yeah. He was. And that's where Luke and Ernie got roped into it, I think.
I see.
They had written an adventure that could fill that gap. The Lost City of Gaxmore. So the original contracts were really the adventure that we got was one little adventure that Gary wrote for the original Codex of Erd, a Knoll battle, which is really, really
Knoll
cool.
battle.
It's badass. You basically are rescuing. Yeah, it's Davis.
Luke's looking around, one of his guys.
Because that was the first adventure Gary had written that he had penned completely himself
for us.
Yeah, for us. But when had he written an adventure prior to that, outside of Legendary Adventures? It'd been decades.
It would have been a while. Yeah, he
really been a long time because that was the first one, and it's a little 4-page adventure, and it is brilliant. It's badass. So good.
It's so badass.
Really? Y'all got me tore up now.
Yeah, you can only find it in the Codex of Erd. It's got the original Codex of Erd. It's got the orange binding on it.
Oh,
so anyway, so we got on the phone. Chris Clark from Heckaforge, Gary, and I. We got on the phone and talked for a very, very long time. A lot about history, but one of his whole thing was he wanted this encyclopedia set published. Now, and he listed the ones that he had. He said it's open ended. He said the first one's going to be the Canting Crew. I've got this Living Fantasy, and he's listed a couple of others that he wanted to do. And we signed an open-ended contract for that. So there was no end, and we were working on. I could open the files. We were working on 2 or 3 more that were going to go beyond the 7 that we published. So he had only gotten started on that series. So the first one we did was, in fact, it was the first hardcover book that Troll Lord Games ever published was Gary Gygax's Canting Crew, and to this day, And I know Peter Bradley's out there, and I love you to death, Peter. But this is still, it might be my favorite cover. If you look at it, it's got this wire. Yeah, Luke's looking at it now. It's got this kind of mesh wire. It's just a brilliant cover. I absolutely loved it. The interior content completely foreign to me, like we were talking about earlier. The whole cant stuff and all of these names for different thieves. It was just, out of this world for me. But yeah, interestingly enough, here's a little that's the orange side. I'll get my codex. A trade secret that very few people know. The impact that Gary Gygax has had on this industry is huge. So that book that Luke was just holding, The Canting Crew, was the first book that a very small company called Impressions Advertising and Marketing, owned by Gygax, sold. Now, in those days, you could get paid before the book arrived from distribution. Everything, there was no PayPal, there was none of that stuff. So you did everything through distribution. So Aldo pre-sold, I think it was 2,300 copies of The Canting Crew, and used that to jumpstart his business, Impressions Advertising and Marketing. And Impressions Advertising and Marketing is the very company that brought all of you people Gloomhaven about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So all of that, Gary started that with The Canting Crew, which I find is absolutely fascinating. Aldo paid us back. He actually saved TLG back in 06 or 07. I can't remember. No, it was after Gary had passed. But there was all of that, karma was repaid. But I mean, he really wanted to do this Gygaxian Fantasy World Series. He wasn't interested in the rest of the stuff. Honestly, getting him to work on Upper Works was not easy. On Castle Zagging was not easy. He loved working on Yggsburgh. He absolutely loved this setting, the Eastmark, Yggsburgh, all of it. But he wasn't that interested in writing this gigantic dungeon. He did, but the encyclopedia was where it at for him.
Which is crazy, because when he sat down to write an adventure, Gary could peel them off so quick. I mean,
yeah.
And there's what was the other one that he wrote for us that I really liked?
All of them. So here's the Codex of Error. If you've got this one, you got that little adventure. But Davis, you love the Hall of Many Pains.
All of Many Pains, yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it is a monster. It's a huge box set we did with 3 adventures in it. It was one of those that we discussed whether we should do that as opposed to Yggsburgh here in the beginning. Yeah. But I really think Hall of Many Pains needs a huge treatment. It's just this amazing, it's a hall, this kind of column, and there's these windows in it, and the windows take you to different worlds. It is it's just an astounding. Hall of Many Pains. Is that what I said? Yeah, Hall of Many Pains. It's that in The Hermit. I don't want to give it away, but there's this scene in The Hermit that is so creative. It is so creative. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It is so creative.
Really?
It puts Gary in this kind of other realm for creators. You can just see that not only is he able to create and design a game system, but he's got an imagination to flesh that out with places that you've not been before, which is really, really cool. And Hall of Many Pains.
Look, thinking of that, growing up with your dad must have been sort of funny, because his imagination was what he could imagine. Could you imagine being inside your dad's head sometimes? I don't know.
It was always cool when he would tell stories, like bedtime stories were pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I guess that would, yeah.
Oh, I never thought about that. That would be kind of cool. Wow. Can you imagine if Gary Gygax give you a bedtime story? That's freaking awesome.
They were pretty awesome. So I've got a few of them tucked away, and maybe I'll do my recounting of them or whatever for people.
You never know, man. That's awesome. Well, let's see. How much long you guys want to go? Because it's running on 10:30 here. I didn't know what.
It's already pretty late, so we should probably sign off before too long. I could, put a quarter in me, and I'll continue talking.
I will tell everybody here we are going to attempt tomorrow to stream to Twitter and to Facebook. So keep an eye out for those posts on social media. We're going to try to hang out with more folks, as we're just so excited. And again, we want to get the word out to everybody. So, if you find someone that doesn't know about it, spray paint their lawn with this information I'm about to paste in the chat here. And, Tell them to go there. Look it over.
It really is. It's a historic moment, I think.
It
and
is.
We're seeing, Gary left the market in 2008, and we're finally getting to see his stuff come back out.
Finally.
And we're not going to look back.
No.
We're just going to look forward, what we can do, what we can bring out, and get this stuff rolling again, because it is.
Yeah, this is super. I don't know.
Well, we just never thought. We always thought, wow, it would be great. But man, and like we talked about in the other stream with Luke, he had such a hard time fighting, and it's like you just think at some point you're just kind of like, it's just going to become a myth, and then now it's reality. It's like the video we played on the stream yesterday, Steve, on your stream from Fury Road. Remember what the guy said?
Yeah.
He said I was born and then I died and then I live again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's from Fury. Yeah, that when he sprays the chrome in his mouth and he says, "Witness me," and he goes, "I'm born, I die, I live again." I love that movie.
Yeah, that is always good when you're doing, especially if you're drinking and you do something dumb.
Yeah.
Alex, we hope so. We hope so. We're going to see if we can. I'm sure that it'll come down the road. We want to do. We'd like to have it on all of ETTs, but you know how that goes with work and production schedules and all that. But I had somebody in the other chat ask us if this was going to interrupt our production schedule and other stuff, and I'm like, in the world of publishing, it's always getting interrupted. So
it will and it won't. I mean, obviously, this is an opportunity. We're not, that's crazy. But and like we've said a couple of times, we owe it to Gary. If we owe Troll Lord Games to Gary, so he takes precedence. So.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't impact. We got a much bigger crew now than we did before. Much more technically savvy. The technology there is going to help quite a bit. And in these early stages, and it's one of the reasons we chose Yggsburgh in this early stage.
Yeah,
we're reprinting a classic original work, so Yggsburgh itself will not impact Luke's work on Gary Con or Gax works, and it shouldn't impact TLG too much.
Yeah.
The Hermit will be a little bit more, and then the Gygaxian Fantasy World Series, we'll see as that unfolds.
Yeah.
But we have a much bigger crew now, so I don't anticipate it upsetting the apple cart even 1/100th as much as the OGL announcement did. So,
and if it's as popular as we hope it'll be, we'll bring people in if we have to. It doesn't matter. We want this to be out there for people to enjoy.
Yeah, and what you can do is, this is day one of the announcement. Please post this on your social media.
Yeah.
Please talk to your friends about it. Please share your excitement if you're enthused about it, so that other people who aren't here right now, who missed this, will get a chance to click in and purchase it and show that there is an audience for this work, so that we can continue to develop it. And that's the best thing that you can do. It's a grassroots campaign. Spread the word. Help us out. I would love to be working on Castle Zagig in 2024, 25, 26.
Yes,
absolutely.
And putting this stuff out there. That'd be a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would, I think I can fit it in or put aside other things that I'm doing to fulfill this commitment that I made to my dad when he was still alive to do these things. And I think it's amazing. Yeah, and it's amazing. It's great stuff. So there's, everybody will benefit.
And I put a link out to our link tree with all of our socials. Just keep an eye on those. They should be shareable. They should be. If they're not, someone let me know, because they should be always shareable. Anyway, there's that. And then, of course, Luke, it's not hard. Just go to any social media and type in Gygax. He'll be right before it. I think that's about it, though. I think we should probably be heading out now. It's getting late. But just look, and as things will unfold over the next few years. So we're going to let everybody go. Again, just want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you so much.
I learned this from the Barbie movie.
Do what? Yeah. What is it called?
I made that up. It's like the beauty pageant wave, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well, Peter, unlike most people, unlike you being a lich in England, we have to sleep and get nourishment. And that
Peter
kind of
Bradley does not sleep. So.
No, he does not. He does not.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, we're out.
My family's. I have lamb chops to eat. My family's waiting for me.
Well, I don't want those ladies upset with me, so we're going to get off of here. All right.
Me neither. All right.
Appreciate everybody. We'll see you guys down the road. Good night. Thank you.
All right.